Garth, I can't believe we're about to open season 2, and this episode is absolutely unbelievable. Didn't you love every second with Marnie and Nick?
Yeah, it was amazing, and I loved. We asked them who their favorite characters were. You'll be surprised at who they choose.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things that emerge from this, like some of the themes about start. Leaders need to start somewhere because everyone is a leader. You lead from your living room, dining room, office, classroom, boardroom, whatever. Yeah, it was really exciting. What did you think of their sort of origin of this book and where they came from? That was kind of neat.
Oh man, you know what? I think it's worth listening to, frankly, and hearing
Yeah,
it. I mean, this is so rich with how do you start something? How do you see it through? Marnie drops in NPCs. You
yeah.
know, Nick and Marnie both talk about early, middle, and late leadership strategies, and their words are so insightful. I think a listener's going to love it.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. So we hope you enjoy and give us some feedback. And in it, always an invitation for you, our listeners, to ask us some questions and get involved in the pod. Thanks.
All right, enjoy the show.
With Garth and Jason, we dive right in. Breaking down Ted's world, let's begin. From AFC, Richmond's Field to your day-to-day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from Ted, we'll learn and grow.
Centered. Welcome, everybody, to Season 2 of Lassoing Leadership. I'm your host, Garth Nichols.
I'm also your host, Jason Rogers. This is the first episode of Season 2 for us, and we're welcoming two very special guests to help us set the foundation for Season 2. Garth, I'm super jacked for this, man.
I know, it's very exciting. Season 2 of the podcast, we deep dive into 10 main leadership themes that surfaced for us throughout our Season 1 of the podcast and throughout the entire 3 seasons of Ted Lasso. And while you don't have to have been with us through Season 1, it was a goodie and worth listening to or re-listening to as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's 46 episodes of pure magic in there somewhere, Garth. So go back to it early and often. But you're here today with us in Season 2. And we're calling this approach a leadership coach approach, where there's a game plan. It's laid out in a series of 3 episodes. In the first one, we'll take a look at the definition of a theme and how it shows up in leadership practice. Next episode, we'll interview experts. And in the third one, we'll go to listener Q&A. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all those people out there who are listening to this and have questions about the things we're talking about.
Yeah, Jason, like our listeners are going to be integral in this. So,
Awesome.
But listen, today is about looking at these themes in more depth. Where did they come from? How did we decide on them? And we've got 2 amazing guests to help us know if we got it right.
Can't wait. Garth, this is a highlight. And when we started this thing, we weren't sure if anybody would be listening or if anybody would be willing to talk to us, let alone authors of books about Ted Lasso and leadership. I mean, what a dream. So to do this, we're welcoming Marnie Stockman and Nick Coniglio, authors of Lead It Like Lasso. I gave this book to you, Garth. I think it was around Christmas time last year, and you took it away, read it, loved it, and now I've read it. I love it, and we even have an announcement from these authors today about something new from their product as well.
Yeah, we'll hear more about that in a second. I do love this book. It's a mix of humor, depth, lessons in how to consider and reconsider leadership to the lessons of Ted Lasso and the characters. I've done a book review on it in my blog as well, so highly recommend that too. So a warm welcome to Marnie and Nick, and I'll just turn it over to you two. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Well, thanks so much for having us. Happy to. I'm Marnie Stockman. And if you've read the book, you know I started out as a high school math teacher and then worked my way through lots of things in education, administration. And, when you're a teacher and you go to the board office, they say to the dark side. And then when you're at the board office and then you go to the business side, that's the dark side again. And then we got acquired 3 times and we were working for Rupert Manions of the world. And that was really the dark side. So Nick brought us back to the light side where we started a company together and scaled and sold in the same 3 seasons that Ted Lasso aired. And so then we wrote Lead It Like Lasso. So that's the quick run through of Marnie
Awesome.
Stockman. I'll send it to Nick.
Yeah, well, thanks, Marnie. Thanks, Garth. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, my name is Nick Coniglio, and I am probably the only person on this call that's not an educator. I've been in technology almost my whole career. Started out as a programmer, eventually went into consulting, and then kind of slid into executive leadership roles for small companies that had a knack for scaling and growing. Until, like Marnie said, we started working together in ed tech, where we worked for some Rupert Manions of the world, and like Marnie said, we started our own company, and then we're here. We wrote the book. We're big fans of Ted Lasso. Clearly, we've you know, I like to say, Marnie didn't mention this about herself, but the thing that really drew us to Ted Lasso was I started watching it during COVID. And I was watching, I was like, oh my gosh, I know this character. I know Ted Lasso, and it's Marnie Stockman. I mean, she is
That's
the
nice.
living
That
representation
is nice,
of Ted
isn't
Lasso.
it?
And kind of the rest is history, and we're excited to be here.
What a compliment. Well,
Yeah.
welcome
Oh,
to
very
both of
much
you.
so.
Yeah, welcome to both of you. Thank you so much. Before we jump right in, I want to remind our listeners to submit your questions to lassoingleadership@gmail.com or through LinkedIn, Spotify, or Instagram, or just slip into our DMs. So welcome, and let's kick this off, Jason.
Super, and I'm excited to start with a super simple question. But Garth and I always talk about writing books, writing articles, or starting podcasts, and it always starts with a spark of inspiration. Nick, you mentioned some of the spark happened during COVID, right? Those dark days where we're all looking for a bit of light, and Ted just showed up to be there. But was there anything else that inspired you to take this incredible script and series and turn it into a book about education and, well, leadership, not education, but about leadership? What took you there?
So a few things. First, as Nick said, he told me multiple times, you need to watch the show, right? And then as we watch the show, the themes come out so strong. We almost subtitled it a roadmap at the intersection of self-help and leadership, right? It was really so many of those themes in the show that resonated, but also at the same time paralleled with the growth of our business in the same 3 years, which there was some irony there. We were very much fish out of water in the business that we built, and as was Ted Lasso, right? So all of these themes, we ran with a strong culture of positivity. We were really clear on our core values, and we set a vision and made the things happen, which is really what Ted did, in a strong leadership realm. A lot of people were asking us, how did you scale a company, in 3 years to sell? And so we wanted to tell that story. But as you know, in education, and I'll reference Simon Sinek here, that it's true in sales and it's true in teaching. If students or buyers believe in your why, they'll buy your what. So if you have a strong, compelling why in a classroom, they will suffer through that pre-calc lesson, right, all the way to the end because they understand the impact of the why. And we feel like, so a good why, a good hook is Ted Lasso, because it made the world want to be better, right? I mean, you see it in your followers in the Ted Lasso communities that they want to become their best version. And that is what, we felt like that hook would help them see that our leadership framework is really geared to help them become their best version. And we thought that tie-in would help them kind of get there faster when they saw it on the bookshelves.
Love that. Love that. Now, you mentioned a couple times throughout that response, also all the way through the book, for those people who haven't read the book, you've distilled the leadership down to certain themes. So first of all, do you want to hit on some of those themes for us? And secondly, I'd love to hear the story as to how you got there. How did you distill the magic of Lasso into themes? What was your process?
Yeah, so I think I'll start with the first question, Jason. Our theme, if you read our book, the big theme that we want you to take away is that leadership is life and everybody is a leader, right?
Nice.
I think it doesn't matter if you're in the boardroom, the locker room, the dining room. or the classroom, right? It doesn't matter where you are in life, everyone is a leader. And then, from there, we start drilling down into a lot of the themes that I hear you guys talking about in your podcast. And I absolutely love your podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
We talk a lot about, we read a lot of leadership books just in general. And a lot of them always start with vision and purpose. And one of our big themes is, you need to take a step back. And before you even get there, you need to start with understanding what your guiding principles are, what your core values are. Because if you do not do that, right, there's going to be a disconnect down the line. We talk about empathy, we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about vulnerability, positivity. So I don't want to reiterate all the things that you guys talk about in your podcast quite a bit, but we're very much in line with a lot of the things that you clearly have pulled out of the Ted Lasso episodes. And we just believe that if you could apply that in real life with a structured framework, that it really is a cheat code to life. And we talk about often that personal leadership is a cheat code to life. And that is also scalable to teams, organizations, and what have you. And I don't remember what your other question was because I'm a rambler. So I apologize.
Well, I mean, I think he said, how did we come to the themes?
Yeah, I want to know how you came around to them.
Remember the brainstorming day?
Yeah. I mean, we started with, we obviously watched the episodes over and over again, but we really started with the quotes. Ted Lasso is known for all the different inspirational quotes, and we started brainstorming, and then we just started categorizing the different quotes, and it was a really interesting exercise. We had never written a book before. We were in the business world. I was a former programmer. Marnie was an educator, and it was just such a fun process to brainstorm, categorize. Okay, this quote deals with empathy. This quote deals with positivity. We can put these quotes in with thinking about legacy and the impact that you leave behind, and it just all came together. And then this is what the result was.
So
pretty proud of.
For the both of you, you spoke of the quotes that show up throughout the show. Just let us have it. What is the one that sticks with you, post writing the book, or, as you come back to the book? I just love the Ted Lasso series so much, and love being reminded of the wisdom in there. What is it for each of you?
So it's not about the wins and losses. It's about helping everybody become, helping these young men become the best version of themselves. When I was a teacher, when I first applied to teaching, that was my philosophy of education, that it wasn't about your content. It was teachers' responsibility to help everybody become the best version of themselves. So that was way back in '92, before Jason Sudeikis had said that.
Yeah. And I'll say there's really two. They're very closely tied together. Onward, forward. I almost use every day, either with my family. I have a 20-year-old son who's in college, who's constantly has setbacks and, obstacles that are new to him. And then related to that is don't fight back, fight forward. Those two quotes are things that I live every day. My favorite quote in the show, and I'll give you a third, is be curious, not judgmental, because I believe curiosity is the greatest strength that I admire in leaders that I've worked with in the past.
Right on.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go one step further here, Marnie. Nick, it's related to my question in a second, but who are your favorite characters? Marnie, who's your favorite character out of the series?
If I can only pick one, I will say Trent Krim, which is probably not what anyone expects, but so Nick has a lot of Trent Krim in him, for the record. No, oh my God, can I pick Roy Kent too? Darn it, I it makes me nuts to have to answer that. But this morning I was feeling Trent Krim, probably because Nick just said the curious, not judgmental piece. Yeah. I think Trent tied a theme to this. He's a great listener. He's really insightful. He asks great questions. Trent is the gap that I need to fill in my own world, because he's a lot of things that I am not. So I appreciate the ones that I am like, but I admire the elements that I'm missing. So this morning, wanting really to say all of them, especially Roy Kent also, but I will go Trent Grant.
All right. Excellent. What about you, Nick?
You asked me today, I'll say something different than I said yesterday. I will say that I smile the most with Higgins, and I know he's not one of the stars of the show, right? But the words of wisdom, his fatherly guidance with the staff, the team, he evolved over the show. We didn't see really the dark side of Higgins that Rebecca often talks about, and how he hid everything that went on with Rupert. But I think he always just, whether it's his funny gags or his one-liners or his guidance, it feels like, it reminds me of great leaders, or my dad, or people that I've really respected in the past. It just always says the right thing at the right time, and it brings back good memories. It makes me smile.
Oh, it's making me smile too, Nick. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the clever things that you do in your book is a character analysis. I've already said this book is fun, it's playful, but for me, it really came alive in this section where you as a reader answer some questions and you get aligned with almost like a self-assessment, and you are more like Rebecca than you are like Ted or something along those lines. And you develop these leadership archetypes. So what I loved about the book is that it's simplicity, and that sometimes leaders can overthink things, overthink their approaches and stuff like that. For example, one of the archetypes you have is one of my favorite characters, Rebecca, and she is the visionary transformer. And she's one of my favorites because of the way that she transforms an organization, but also has self-transformation too. So my question for both of you is, what is significant about leaders having access to or ability to refer to sort of leadership archetypes? Like, why did you include that in your book?
So there are a ton of leadership frameworks out there, a ton of leadership assessments. I have my doctorate in that, so I've certainly, I have Myers-Briggs my way through courses and other things. And really, Nick and I always say, like, start somewhere, defeat the blank page, do something, right? So you can overthink easily, and people get that analysis paralysis if they're like, oh, I have to do all the things. I'm going to do a Myers-Briggs and a disc profile and a this and a that. Like, it really just comes down to, you need to know yourself, where your strengths are, and where your weaknesses are, or room for improvement. I won't even call them weaknesses. And the other piece is that even though we titled the book Lead It Like Lasso, not everyone has to be Ted Lasso. As a matter of fact, Ted Lasso knew that. And that's why he brought Coach Beard. And that's why he had his Diamond Dogs. And that is why, like, if you round out the whole team of folks, he said to Sam, you're a leader on this team, Sam. I want to hear what you have to say. So we wanted to point out, one, that you don't have to be, there's not one type of like, this is the perfect quintessential leader. And you may be a combo platter, but what you can learn from each of the archetypes is what's important. And Garth, I'm with you. I am a heavy Rebecca / Ted combo platter. So she definitely is a fan. But that was our thinking. And we definitely would have included Higgins or Trent, but we wanted to keep it simple. And we could have put 20 people on that list, but we're like, we feel like that gives a discrete enough distinction among the characters with the ones that we selected.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think what's so interesting as I'm listening to this conversation is I harken back to season 1 of our podcast, Garth, and we went through the whole season, looked for favorite characters with any number of guests, and almost never was Ted the favorite character.
Yeah.
And back to something you said early on, Marnie, about everybody leads. And I think that was Ted's real gift in all of this, is he found a way to let everybody lead, whether it was Higgins or whether it was Trent, and I think that's part of the magic in the leadership that Ted brings into the show.
I'm going to just add on one thing. One of our rules in our book is there are no NPCs, the non-player characters, right? So,
Oh yeah.
and many times in TV shows, they have a very limited number of main characters that you know in depth, right? Everybody else is real superficial. And we felt like they went much deeper in many of the other characters in the locker room to really emphasize that, like, don't be a non-player character in your own life. Everybody plays an important role. And we think that kind of tied in with that idea that you just mentioned.
I love that. I'm going to be using that tomorrow in my staff address, Marnie.
Nice. Excellent.
The show will come out about 3 days after that. But anyways, that's what it is. I have.
Well, they'll think that you had the idea first.
No, I'm giving you full credit, so don't you worry. So Garth and I spent a little time, maybe in a similar process to what you all went through, and we tried to distill the whole series down to 10 themes, which we'll address in this season of our podcast. I'm going to read through the themes, and I'll put both you on the spot a little bit, and just saying, if you were to pick out one of the themes, which one do you think is most critical and applicable to both Ted Lasso and effective leadership? In essence, which theme are you tuning into, and why would you want to tune into that theme? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. It's going to be hard, but it makes sense.
Only one, too. This is not like, here they are.
Yeah.
So here are the 10 themes. I'm going to run through them quickly, and then I'm going to bounce to you, Nick, first. Then, Marnie, you can come back with yours, okay? So we have empathy in month 1, positive attitude, building relationships, empowerment to trust, humility and vulnerability, resilience and perseverance, inclusivity and respect, ethical leadership, effective communication, and the last one will be leading by example. So again, Nick, which month are you tuning into? Why is it so important, and how does it apply to Ted Lasso, if you can do that?
Well, I'm tuning into every month because I think they're all important. So, they're all so critical. The one that jumps out to me the most probably is the humility and vulnerability. I think, it was so evident in Ted Lasso. Ted opened himself up in so many different ways, his vulnerability, and how that drew everybody else in and allowed the team to grow. And it wasn't just Ted. I mean, each of the characters, as we talked about, showed some level of vulnerability across the arc of the show. And the ability to do that as a leader, and we talked about earlier that I had kind of grown my career in executive leadership. And I was thrust into leadership positions in my mid to late 20s. And I really had nobody who really guided me on how to be an effective leader. And I really defaulted to the traditional command and control type of leadership. And I was really no good at it. It wasn't until I learned, all the elements that you talk about and all the themes, but the big one to me that really resonates is the humility and being vulnerable, because that inspires trust, and trust is really, in my mind, one of the most important factors in building effective teams. So that's the one. When you start month 5, humility and vulnerability, I'm going to be in the chats. I'm going to be throwing my 2 cents worth and listening to what others say, because honestly, I'm not where I want to be, ultimately. And it's something that I just look to continually build upon.
That's magic. Thanks for that, Nick. And I think there is strength when you build trust and build trust through humility. And I think your points are well taken. I'm looking forward to that month too. Marnie, which one are you tuning in for?
Yeah, all again, but because you forced my hand to pick one, I'm going to say building relationships, because I feel like if you do that well, you do all of the other things. So, building strong relations. It's interesting, as Nick was talking, he mentioned how he grew in humility and vulnerability to, as he kind of leveled up. And I think it is through relationships and connections that has made a big impact in the way that I have leveled up along the way. I don't know that, I talked about my career path, which looks maybe like I didn't know what I was doing, but as Nick and I reflected back on it, that I think it was in fact connections that got me each time in building those relationships. And I think that it takes a positive attitude and empathy and empowerment. And it takes all of those things to have great relationships. So when you were reading the list, I was trying to decide which one I could just cram them all into so I could say all.
Well played. Well played.
Select all.
Well played.
Yeah, that's great, and I think it's you both hit on this idea that Ted Lasso brings all of these together. It's very hard to distill one from the other, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's an ongoing theme of our work too, which is this idea that you can't leave one behind. And like this week, I'm only going to focus on empathy.
I'm just going to be empathetic this week, but next year, forget it.
One of the things that I loved about your book, just bring it back to that. Is that you do this, you have a whole section on bringing these skills into the real world. And very exciting development, you've just launched a Lead It Like Lasso masterclass. And it's really like about that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's personal leadership lessons for life.
Yeah.
Nick, you've said it on this podcast, you say it in the masterclass, because I've just started it, that everyone can lead, from the boardroom to the classroom to even the living room or dining room. It's great. I've just started the masterclass. I'm looking at this workbook which you have. If you like the diagrams and the sort of interactive nature of the book, you'll love this masterclass workbook as well. I don't want to go into too much detail, but to our listeners, it's an excellent self-study opportunity for those looking to level up. So Nick and Marnie, just one of the important parts about bringing these skills into the game, as you refer to it, do you have any piece of advice, or can you distill like one important point for maybe an early entry or a mid-career and or a veteran leader, and how maybe that changes over time, obviously, but if you could highlight 1 or 2 points for early entry, mid-career, and then veteran leaders.
Yeah. So, early entry, I think we talked about it a little earlier, is, I think the most important thing, I have a 20-year-old son who's about to enter the job market, and, understanding who you are, and it sounds so easy, and we have exercises in the game in our book to work to help you identify your core values and what drives you. But it's something that not a lot of people really take into account, and in our experience, a lot of people don't find it that easy to really truly identify the three to five things that really drive you. And the importance in doing that is it ends up guiding you, and it helps you kind of channel in what makes you tick and what you should go after and what motivates you, what your vision should look like. So our message to anybody who's really just kind of launching into their career is, it's important to identify where you want to go in life with a vision and then set goals, but you have to have boundaries that help anchor you to that. And that's your core values. Are you somebody who really thrives in problem solving? Or are you somebody that really drives in, are you driven by relationship building or empathy or what have you? Because as you're starting to enter your career and whatever is next for you, that will ultimately dictate your level of stress, your level of anxiety, your level of comfort, because if there's a conflict in what your core values truly are based on actually the culture and how it plays out and how you're living, it always leads to, in our words, stress and anxiety. So that's where I would go from an early career standpoint. I'll let Marnie take the mid-career.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, values.
In the
so critical. Go ahead, Marnie.
Oh, super critical. And all the way through. Like my first response for everyone is know yourself, but hopefully by mid-career that we've done some work there. So my thinking on that is looking toward your legacy. And some people might think, well, that's what a veteran, right? At the end of, I disagree. I think in mid-career, you don't want to get to the end and look back and say, whoops, that's not the way I wanted that to go. In the middle of your career is a great time to say, when I look back, in the book, we talked about your retirement letter. When I look back over my career, what would I want that to say about me? And then if you're not where that is, you've got time. Go do some things with that, right? Like you totally, Gary V. Vaynerchuk talks about, right? If you're 50 more years, what are you doing? You have enough time to go do something. Stop just saying that you're not where you want to be. Set a path for where that is. And then Nick talked about, guiding principles. So at that point, you can use your vision for where you want your legacy to be, along with your core values, to really double up those bumper pads, guiding forces to head you in that direction. I'm going to start on the veteran one, and then Nick can add. I'm so curious. So I think as a veteran in your career, you can work toward helping build others as well. And it's not all about you, right? If everyone becoming the best version of themselves is good for everything and everyone, right? Like it's not pie. There's enough for everyone to go around type of thing. And so for veterans, I think, what are ways that you can continue to grow, right? Just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean you have to stop growing. But how else can you share your gifts with others to help them grow?
Yeah.
We haven't answered that question before, so I'm curious what you think about
it. But in actuality, we live it because we are unfortunately are in that stage of our careers in our 50s here. But I would just say, I was going to say giving back, right? Our Marnie and I, we talk about it at the very end of the book, in our legacy statement or in a legacy section when we talk about the game, we actually talk about the legacy that we want to leave behind. And to us, it's all about giving back. Our mission is all about helping everybody become the best versions of themselves at scale. So that's where the book comes from. It's where the master class is going. Even if it's just a little bit. And, I think people sometimes are overwhelmed, and it's intimidating to from a server's perspective, thinking, oh my gosh, I have to make this huge impact. To us, it's about the little things. It's one day at a time, eating the elephant one bite at a time. Totally. And we just hope that our book, our master class, and everybody that we meet in the Ted Lasso community, I think really embraces that whole notion of giving back. And from a veteran standpoint, I think Marnie nailed it.
Yeah, brilliant.
All right, Garth, what do you think? Is that the best season 2 opener we could have ever hoped for?
Yes, absolutely. Nick and Marnie, as we begin to wrap up, where can we find your work?
Well, like Roy Kent, here, there, and everywhere, right? So leaditlikelasso.com is certainly the fastest path to probably all of the links. We are on all of the socials at leaditlikelasso.com. Nick and I fortunately have relatively unique names, so we're easy to find on LinkedIn as well. And we have just launched a masterclass. So the book is available on Amazon, and the masterclass you can get on leaditlikelasso.com.
Yeah, and we'll link to that as well. So this is great. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you for helping us understand leadership within your book, in particular through fun, through humor, and like real depth, which I think is great. There's also a lot of self-reflection that's required when reading that book. So it's really good stuff. Before we go, I also just want to remind our listeners, taking questions for our next episode, give us some insight and ideas, what you want, what we can do to help you on your leadership journey. As Nick and Marnie said, giving back is so critical for all leaders. So that's a wrap. Thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends.
And Nick and Marnie, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I can speak for both of us that this has been a true honor and privilege, and you're absolute celebrities in our world. So we're really, really thankful to have you. And so can you do us the honor of taking us home?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us. We're honored to be here. And until next time, keep leading the lasso way.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Marnie.
Step up to the mic. It's time to play. Lassoing leadership. leadership every day. From the pitch to the boardroom, lessons call to mind. Keep leading the lasso way, you'll find we've got heart, we've got soul, and humor too. Exploring how Ted shows what leaders should do. With Garth and Jason, we dive right in, breaking down Ted's world. Let's begin from AFC, Richmond's Field to your day-to-day. Lassoing leadership's here to stay. Keep leading the lasso way. Together we'll grow stronger every day. So plug in your headphones and let's start the show. With lessons from Ted we'll learn.